So on that basis, if you have a market, or you're acting in a market that doesn't transcend those borders, how do you pitch between the different countries?
And that's a really good point, because you break up the types of startups. You've got what I do this, which is horizontally scalable startups. That means these are the ones that scale across countries. So online travel is a great example, right? Online travel startups, and Expedia can go right across countries. And then I do this, which is a vertically scaled startup. So a fintech startup generally, not all, but a lot of fintech startups tend to be highly vertically focused. So they tend to primarily work within a country and within a particular area. So depth is important. Now, when you're pitching to startups across different geographies, this becomes very key. And I always say that you've got to break it up between West Coast, East Coast, UK, and European investors. And you pitch slightly differently depending on where you are. And this sounds like splitting hairs, but actually it works. So I generally tend to always recommend to startups, when they're pitching in the UK, to pitch in a particular style, which is the financials are important out here, and people tend to look at financials, market size, and all that. And people are fairly okay with doing long sentences, whereas when you go to the West Coast, I always suggest start off with the product part of it. Go straight into the product, explain the product. If you have a demo, do it quickly and focus on team. And the other thing is, when you're doing the West Coast, keep your sentences shorter and be far more focused as you're explaining. It doesn't mean that in other countries you don't need to be. It's just the style that you're going to pitch in needs to be very different. And it needs to be product and team-led. It's not that in the UK you don't need to be product and team-led. It's just the way that you would be defining and the way you'd be explaining would be slightly different. Not hugely different, but slightly different. But it's understanding the differences between the various countries. Like in the continent, when you're pitching, there tends to be a much larger focus on financials. And it's something you just need to be aware of, and you need to talk accordingly.
Do you know why there are those differences?
Partly cultural, partly it reflects the money that is coming in.
Okay.
That means the GP money that's coming, the LP money that's coming in. It also reflects the culture of the investor and the investing region. And that's, and I'm not trying to be critical or differential. What I'm trying to say is that's the way it works, and you just need to be just aware that that's the way it is. And it's something that Octopus has tended to do very well. It's tended to be far more broader and global in its process. And as a result, increasingly a lot of the Octopus startups have been moving to the US. But we are also focusing increasingly on Southeast Asia and Asia, because we realize that's a real powerhouse, and a lot of innovation and money is coming from there. So we've been encouraging our startups to go east, as well as just not only to the valley.